The old copywriters used to write 85 headlines before they were even warmed up. But here's the other thing. Just say the headline's got 8 words in it, or maybe let's say 12 words in it. You're making a bet with the reader or the audience that you can get them to read the other 8,000 words to say you've written a sales letter. Are you willing to make that bet? Because if you don't nail it in those 12 words, then the next 8,000 don't matter. You might as well have not even written one.
The majority of the time, it's the bullets that need the work. These bullets are boring.
Have you ever noticed though, there's less and less bullets in copy though, over the years? I was watching a thread from and everyone was talking about bullets, and I said I learned how to write bullets with Paris for over a year, and then I can't remember who it was. They said, yeah, we took them out of the training because no one could nail it, so we just don't teach it anymore, and we don't even use them in our copy anymore anyway. I did actually say, way to dumb down the profession just because you and a couple of other people can't do it. I don't mind if there's going to be copywriters that are going to dumb themselves down because other people won't teach them. It's well, that just leaves more room for my mentees, your mentees, to be outstanding and shine when everyone else is being lazy.
All right, so today I'm here with Pauline Longdon. So nice to have you here. Thanks for joining me. And for anyone that doesn't know Pauline has just written so much copy and reviewed. We were just chatting before this. You've reviewed 5,000 pieces of copy in the last 5 years. And the other day I saw you had a post where you did over 100 critiques?
195 pages of critiques.
Yeah. So I have massive respect for that because I work with some private copywriters, in my private community, and, reviewing copy is obviously something I've been doing for a while, but to that extent, that's a lot of copy to review, and I definitely started learning a lot more about how to write better copy once I started reviewing copy. So I can't imagine how much that's affected your skills to have reviewed 5,000 pieces of copy. It must have really improved your ability to see ideas and structures and stuff, right?
Yeah, you definitely after that start to be able to see through the copy matrix, and you can just hone into there's a lot of patterns that you can recognize when you've done that many. The 195 though, by the way, was actually in 24 hours and less than 24 hours because I actually had to sleep. So it was mental. I don't even know how I did it, but I think the secret comes from the fact that when I started, I didn't know it was 195 pages. I just went from document to document and just kept going until I was done. I think had I known at the start, I probably would have freaked out a little bit and wasted half an hour in the fetal position, but that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. That's interesting though, because, reviewing that kind of copy, for me, what's happened is I've been reviewing more and more copy. I've been getting more and more critical of the main idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes I won't even bother reading the body copy because it's if I see the headline, I'm if I go and edit anything in the body copy and this lead and this hook isn't up to standard, once you change that, the rest of the copy is gonna kind of flow based on the new introduction, the new lead and the new hook. So
yeah.
What's happened to me is a lot of copywriters, they'll come to me expecting me to change the words and give them fix the words on the page. And I don't often leave many comments on words until I'm very happy with their big idea. I just give them general feedback on the idea first. I'm curious, what's been your experience?
I agree. I actually do this really weird thing when I'm critiquing copy. I read it like a copywriter, which is to say that I read every word there. But let's be honest, our audience doesn't read every word. We read it because we've got a curiosity in that. And when we're studying copy, we're sniffing around and seeing what all of the copywriters have done. I actually wrote an email a number of years ago about why copywriters are like dogs. And it's because we sniff around, smelling each other's scent, reading the whole of a sales letter that is really very ordinary, but we read it regardless because we want to see what's going on in the copy. Our audience won't do that. So what you're saying there, Matthew, is 100% correct. The second way that I read it, and it's happening simultaneously, is I'm reading it like the audience. And as soon as I feel that the audience would check out, and I've got to tell you, you are right. It's usually either at the headline where the copywriter's only written maybe one or three headlines, and then they've handed it in, and then they've just thrown together a lead, which is spectacular, but then it has a disconnect to the body, and it's well, that's not going to do the job. I mean, writing 1 to 3 headlines and that's the best that you came up with is really quite pathetic. And I say, the old copywriters used to write about like 85 headlines before they were even like warmed up. But here's the other thing. Just say like the headline's got like 8 words in it, or maybe let's say 12 words in it, and you're making a bet with the reader or the audience that you can get them to read the other 8,000 words to say you've written a sales letter. Are you willing to make that bet, like with those, 12 words, that they're going to read the rest of your copy? Because if you don't nail it in those 12 words, then the next 8,000 don't matter. You might as well have not even written one.
This is a big part of it, yeah. When I look at email copy from copywriters, they'll often have very, very bland subject lines. And they put all this effort into the lead, and it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, but they're not going to open this email. Like you're assuming that people are interested in reading your email out of the 200 in their inbox.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the assumption that you're making,
And I mean, the subject line is a headline, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. And I mean, that's the thing with all copy, whether you're writing long, short, whatever, you're writing emails, ads, or long form, your headline is either the headline, the hook, or the subject line. Then you go into the lead. That they are all the same parts of the copy, but people just think, oh, I'm an email writer, I don't have to do that, or I'm an ad writer, I don't have to do that. I can guarantee you that you do, because people have got so much happening in their life. I mean, as you said, don't take it for granted and don't assume that they're just going to read your email out of like 200 other ones that they've got in their inbox. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I think once you start seeing more copy, I mean, when I first started, I was just writing. And so you have a little bit of exposure because you have swipe. But once you start reviewing copy, because you see so much copy, it's almost as if you're getting exposed to 5 times the outputs that you used to, or 10 times the outputs. I would start to see so many different variations and styles and headlines. And so you kind of internalize all of copy instead of just writing. So when you've been reviewing copy, at this point, you've got a pretty good idea of like the way that you like to structure headlines after seeing that much copy. Like what is your general, like what is some of the things that you always do when you start, thinking about what's that headline that's going to get attention?
I've got the Paris Lampropoulos headline formula in my head 24/7, but I can't share it with anyone because that I have to pay him that he'll sue me for $1 million if I do. So I have to be very careful. But I mean, you got to think about like, okay, what is actually going to get people's attention, but not in a clickbait way. It needs to be like, you're going to get their attention, but also you're going to keep their attention. And then also, like with the headline, you can't make this great big like promise, and this is the clickbait thing that everyone tries to do, the great big like promise of something, and then you don't deliver on it in the first couple of lines of the lead, and then people just feel that they've been ripped off. You can't, whatever you say in the headline has to measure up to the expectations, and then deliver on those expectations in the first part of the copy. Otherwise, you have lost them straight away. So
do you reverse engineer it then? Like, because it's probably easier to, I mean, well, there's two ways I've seen people approach it. And I kind of prefer making a bigger promise up front to start my copy. Then I write the copy and then I go back and edit it to make it kind of like, that's what I've done. But some people like to write the copy first and then write all the bullets and then come up with the headline afterwards to see like if it delivers on the body copy. I prefer making a bigger promise up front because it kind of sets me in a state of like I have to deliver some, copy that's gonna get their attention, and then afterwards just double check if it like matches. What's your process?
I'm like you, and I pretty much compare this to like when you get in a car. I basically put my, if I don't know where I'm going, to say it's a new destination, I actually put that in my GPS. My GPS gives me the, all of the moves and turns, and then I get down to, my destination. That's it. copy for me is the same way. I start with a headline that's a placeholder,
Mm.
and then like maybe along the way I change my mind or whatever, but I'm still heading to the same destination. See, where I maybe differ than you a bit is like Ted Nicholas, the late great amazing guy that he was. He used to write the offer first, which I really like, because if you write the offer first, then the headline, and then everything in between the
Yeah.
headline and the offer actually makes sense, that you just put it in there to then bringing in like Joe Sugarman's grease slide. You get everything out of the way that's causing friction. You just like write all the way through. What I do see copywriters do is like they don't have the clear thinking. They don't know what their destination is. So they're explaining themselves or trying to write their way through to the destination, and it gets confusing, it gets boring, they go on tangents, and basically like I think they just lose a reader because they've lost themselves throughout the journey.
I'd love to take you back to that offer that you said, that you write the offer first. So something that I've been doing over the last 3 years is coming up with the marketing message. So like, what is the overall pitch? Like, what's that one sentence or two sentences that if somebody reads those and they're already at the sophistication level where they're like looking for the offer, that sentence is going to make them want to join or want to. I'll write that first, and I get clear on that with every client. Is like, who's your niche? What's the number one result that they want? And what's the vehicle or offer that gets them there? Like, let's put that into one sentence. Once we got that sentence, then based on where you are in the funnel, you like reverse engineer. So like if they're not familiar with the offer, then maybe we introduce it as a mechanism first, and then later it becomes the offer, or like,
Yep.
So when you say that somebody writes the offer first, do you mean like the offer section where you like introduce you like introduce the solution? So like you write that section, including maybe like the close, and then you go back and do the headline, and then you create the bridge between those. Is that what you do?
Yep, you can do that too. Here's the thing, I'm a female, so I just write whatever I feel like at the time. So, I mean, but it makes sense because, like, sometimes we don't feel like writing, like the headline or whatever. Like when I was with Paris, we would write the headline first, then we would write like 20 million bullets. And I'm kind of joking, but I'm not, because, like, okay, so Paris has got a philosophy and a principle that he works by, which is that if you need 100 bullets in a promo, which he does in his magalogs, there's like 100 bullets. You have to write 700 bullets. You have to write 7 times as much copy than you actually need, which is why his controls last for like 10, 15, 18 years.
It's insane. I remember reading that once, that he does 700 times the amount. I think Clayton had a piece where he mentioned that.
Yeah.
I think it was like Clayton's bullets. I think he has like a PDF on how he writes bullets that a lot of people have access to. So could you tell people that aren't familiar with Paris? I've got a couple of people in this that watch our videos. They don't know the old school, or like the guys that were writing. Yeah, like what was that experience like working with Paris and learning from him, and what's he like as a coach and as a copywriter?
Well, he wasn't really a coach, he was a mentor. Difference between a coach and a mentor is someone who's actually been there, done that, got the scars. May not have the t-shirt because it's worn out by now, but it definitely got the battle scars of it. So if people don't know who Paris Lampropoulos is, he's one of the greats. Like, in my humble opinion and mostly correct opinion, he's one of the, the top 3 best living copywriters right now. So this guy has got like controls that have lasted, like I said, like decade, and some of them into their second decade. He learned from people like Clayton Makepeace. He's actually one of Clayton's cubs. There's another one, Pauline Longdon, that has done very well for herself too. So the deal with Paris is that I met one of his Australian copy cubs a number of years ago, kind of quite by happenstance. And we were talking about copywriting, and he said that he was being trained by Paris Lampropoulos. And I went, I have never heard of that person. And he goes, well, okay, so have you heard of? He went through Bensavenga, Makepeace, and all that sort of stuff. I went, I haven't heard of any of those. I'd heard about Carlton and Halbert and Kennedy and all that side, but not this other side. So I started to explore. And then I just said to him, one day I'm going to be a Paris cub. And he goes, yeah, good luck with that. You don't even know him. So then I went out of my way. There was an event back in 2014 called Titans of Direct Response, and it had so many of like the greats there. Even Gary Bencivenga came out of retirement to talk at that event. Anyway, so I made it my business to get to know Paris Lampropoulos. So I went up to him and I said, "Hey Paris, what would I need to do to be one of your copy cubs?" He said, "Absolutely nothing." And I went, "Excellent, sign me up." He goes, "No, because I'm not doing it again." I went, "Okay, so here's the thing. When you do, I want to be on that list." He goes, "Oh, you're going to be one of those, are you?" And I went, "You bet." Because, I mean, think about it. I'm in Australia, half a world away. How do I even get on that guy's radar? So then the next year I saw him at the AWAI boot camp. AWAI is like, a training ground for, it was supposed to be for Agora copywriters before Agora took it over and took it in-house. Anyway, so I saw Paris at that. And I went, "Hey, Paris." He goes, "Oh, you again?" I mean, me again. It's
Whoa.
like, a year apart. I'm thinking, oh my God, have I just overdone my welcome? Anyway, so I did a couple of things that like made me stand out to him and just come up higher on his radar. The year after that, I saw him at a Clayton Makepeace event. And then basically I said to him, I'm serious, I want to be a cub. Anyway, I said, "Send me an email." So I stood there with my phone and said, "What's your email?" So I sent it straight away. Like if you want something bad enough, make everything get out of the way for you to do it. Anyway, so I got a call up at the end of that year, 2016, said, "If you want to be a cub, read this book, send me your takeaways and I'll see if you're in." So I did it and I got in, and that was 6.5 years of weekly training. It was a Friday afternoon for the Americans. It was a Saturday morning, 4 a.m. for me. But I had to get up at 3 a.m. because it wasn't one of those calls that you can just get up 5 minutes before, kind of fix your hair, sit there and like coast through it. He would start the call with, "Okay, kids, pop quiz." And it's like, oh my God. So basically, it was a week-to-week thing. Like if you didn't hand in your homework, you didn't keep pace, you were eliminated. That's it. You were tapped on the shoulder and kicked out. And we started with
Brutal.
about like 12
It's like,
cubs. Yeah, we started with 12 cubs. We finished with 4 after 6.5 years. Yeah, it was
wow, he
brutal.
did for that long. That's a long time to commit to it. 6
Oh,
years.
I'll tell you what we were doing. Like for just over 1 whole year, we learned how to write bullets, Paris style. He has like over like 54 different formulas for bullets. So everyone goes on about Clayton's, and Clayton's, not gonna lie, they're fantastic. The 21 that he's got, Paris has got double that and more. So we spent like a year just alone doing that. We spent a year and a bit learning about creativity, how to unlock creativity for ourselves, how to connect dots dynamically. Yeah, because I mean a lot of the copy is, well, the writing is actually the easy part because that's getting it out of your head. You've got to formulate the copy in your head first. Sometimes like the writing is just dictation. And so I think that, like copy's one in 2 areas, in research and the editing. The writing is just you taking dictation, getting it out of your head.
I love that because I'm going to bring us back to that in a bit, because I think that has a lot to do with what people have delegated to AIs. They're delegating the ideation and the editing, and not the dictation part. And the dictation part's the part that AI is pretty good at. So, wow, okay, that's interesting. So you spent, I didn't realize that that's a long time to coach. And I would love to learn bullets for an entire year, because bullets are my favorite. Bullets actually I think bullets are the way that if somebody's got the core understanding of what copywriting is, because it's like, how do you take something that's compelling and wrap it into this box, like this small little,
Oh yeah.
like if you can do that, then you have it. Because bullets are not so easy. And I think a lot of copywriters, especially with email, because I usually critique most the email. I do critique VSLs and ads and other stuff, but majority of the copywriters I work with, they close clients on the long form stuff. They do the 1-time project or 2-time projects, and then they get them on the back end with email. So
Yeah,
then
clever.
the repeat work is usually email reviews and ad creatives and stuff. And so majority of the time, it's the bullets that need the work. That's the interesting part. It's like most of the emails, I'm always like, you guys, these bullets are boring.
Have you ever noticed though, like there's less and less bullets in copy though, over the
Yeah.
years? I'll
Hmm.
tell you why that was, because I noticed that I was watching like a thread from Mario and Luke in one of the groups on Facebook, and that everyone was talking about bullets, and I said that yeah, I learned how to write bullets with Paris for over a year, and then I can't remember who it was, Luke or Mario. They said, yeah, we took them out of the training because no one could nail it, no one could write them properly, so we just don't teach it anymore, and we don't even use them in our copy anymore anyway. And I thought, and I did actually say, way to dumb down the profession just because you and a couple of other people can't do it. You know, that's not fair to the rest of it. Us, although it is, like, I don't mind if there's going to be copywriters that are going to dumb themselves down because other people won't teach them. It's like, well, that just leaves more room for my mentees, your mentees, and people that you're training, to be outstanding and shine when everyone else is like just being lazy. Because the other thing that they do as well, they'll get AI to write. You know, they'll say, oh, you're a world famous copywriter named Paris Lampropoulos, because Paris is actually really known for his bullets, right? And so
Right,
it's
right.
like, you're a world famous copywriter called Paris Lampropoulos, and you are, you know, tasked to write bullets on blah, blah, blah. That's not going to give you a Paris level bullet at all. Trust me, I know. And even if you load the GPT or your AI with a couple of Paris controls, you have no freaking idea how much blood, sweat, and tears. And he's got like a process that, you know, he starts with 700 bullets and he culls them down to 100, and he
Hmm.
has a secret process that he does that, and it does not involve AI. So if you're going to use AI to come up with a Paris style or level bullet, you're kidding yourself. Absolutely kidding yourself. Yeah.
You probably get a bullet that looks like it in Word, but does it actually hit the market the same way? Is probably going to be
That's the
the
big
biggest
one.
differentiator. Yeah, that's funny. So I have mixed opinions about bullets, because as much as I love bullets, I do find that certain markets, maybe like BizUp, for example, I find that they're kind of aware that it's a bullet. So it almost like reveals to them that there's a sales process. So what I've done a lot in my emails is I'll write, let's just say like 4 to 5 bullets. Let's say you're not selling a product, you're just selling, hey, go watch this video I put on my YouTube channel. Here's what's inside the video. Bullet, 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 bullet. I sometimes turn the bullets into a numbered list so that it feels like it's like, turn it into a numbered list. Or sometimes I just drop it. So I write the bullets, I drop the bullet section, because my perspective on it is like bullets should read into each other. A lot of people write bullets that are just very
Absolutely.
disjointed. It's like
Yeah.
this bullet and then this bullet separate from the previous bullet, and then this is then you've like, if you get them to read it like that, then they start to skim, because you're teaching them to skim stuff, right? So it's like, what I will do is I'll just write bullet, 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 and then if you can remove the actual bullet, I don't know, like symbol, it should still read, it should still flow perfectly, and then you just remove that and you've got bullets still. So even for copywriters that aren't writing bullets, like they're struggling with that. I think if you can't write bullets, you're going to struggle with subject lines. You're going to struggle with subheads. Subheads are going to just like, they're going to be so bad. And then even your headline. I mean, how many times can you take a subhead and actually it becomes the main headline? Like, if you can't even write the subheads, then you're going to have trouble. Like, so headlines, subheads are out of the question. Good bullets out of the question. Like, I don't know. I think you're going to set yourself up for a very hard time, especially with cold traffic, if you can't write bullets. I mean, maybe organic you can get away with stuff, but
Well, I mean, something that I did learn from like Carleen Anglade Cole, who's the other famous cup of Clayton Makepeace. She said that like most of her copy is like bullets that aren't bullets, like they're paragraphs. And because they're short, punchy, and they get straight to the point, and all you need to do, and here's the other thing that people fall down on, Matthew, is like transitions. They don't know how to transition between paragraphs or sections or bullet to bullet as well, which is, it does let them down. And I'm not talking about a transition of being like another paragraph or a great big sentence. A transition can just be one single word. But most people don't concentrate on the smoothness of the copy. Like when I'm critiquing copy, when I'm writing copy, my top goal is to make that a pleasant reading experience for the person, or whether, okay, so I write VSLs and TSLs. So TSLs, I want the person to just not even notice that they're reading. So I don't even say that stupid thing that copywriters go, keep reading because I'm about to tell you. Just freaking tell them. Or like if you want to open a loop, there's a different way to open loops and say, in a minute, I'm going to tell you. It's like there's so many different ways to say that. So I'm trying to make it as smooth as possible, but also with a VSL, some poor schmuck has to read that. So you don't want it to sound robotic. You want it to sound like organic, natural language. Then it's going to sound like a conversation instead of like an inner moment. Keep watching this video because I'm about to tell you. It's like, I don't know. I think that like, because my idea about copy as well is to get people into an attention trance. I want them to not be aware of anything else in the world. So whether they're on their phone or computer, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're reading, they're watching. I want them in that attention trance. I want them to be eyes on the screen. I don't want them to be thinking like when you say, keep watching this video, and they go, oh, fuck, pardon me. Oh, I'm watching a video. And then it's like, oh, I had to pick up the kids from school, or I have to go and watch... I was actually here to watch.
It could actually have it could have the opposite effect. Yeah,
it
does.
Could
actually have the yeah. That's interesting.
And the thing with reading is people don't like to read. We all know that. Actually, there's a stat that came out of America which was disturbing. The most people, I can't remember the number, is that most people after school never read another book in their life. So why are we trying to make them read stuff? And then like as you know, this circles back to before when we were talking about clear thinking is clear copy, all that kind of stuff, and know where you're going to go instead of like trying to write your way around that and through obstacles and objections. Just make it a really nice smooth experience, and then you'll get people down to the bottom, and the only decision they need to make is which credit card they're going to use, rather than on the way down going, oh shit, should I keep reading this? Oh, I've got to go and pick up the kids, or I've got to go and do this thing. We've got their attention on the screen and they're not anywhere else. Oh, can I share another thing on that I've got this thing about copy?
I'd love you to, yeah.
Where do you reckon the worst place someone can read your copy from would be?
The worst place?
Yeah, worst place.
Definitely somewhere where they can easily be called to get their attention gets asked for from somewhere. So maybe like at a 9-to-5 cubicle or something. I don't know. Where would you say?
I agree. Everyone goes for the physical. Okay, so it was a very trick question. The worst place anyone can read your copy from is from in their brain, with an awareness, because as soon as the person breaks their attention from the screen, then they're in their head. And what have they got in their head? They have all of these conversations, all of these checklists, to-do lists and all that sort of stuff. You then have to battle for everything else in there. It's like a battle royale to keep their attention. So that's why I get my copywriters and people that I'm critiquing. I say, you need to keep their attention on the screen at all times. Don't tell them that they're reading. Don't, like I also say, don't say, in a minute, I'm going to tell you, because like everyone keeps doing that. And if you actually
everyone, yeah.
If you count all the minutes, because here's the thing, people keep score. They go, in a minute, like it's see, time is something that they can measure. I say, in a moment, I'll share. By the way, that's a female thing. We don't tell females anything, right? That's writing to females is so different than writing to males, okay? But I would say to a male, in a moment, I'll tell you. I won't say in a minute, because a minute is a measurable amount of time, whereas in a moment, how long is a moment? That could be as long as it needs to be. So yeah, I'm definitely like, there are so many ninja tricks going on in my copy, just keeping all of the attention on the page. I don't really agree with like what people say about overcoming objections. Here's what I've noticed: the difference between A-list copywriters and no, I'm not going to say A-list copywriters. Let's say A-player copywriters, because everyone's an A-list copywriter these days, self-anointed. But and between
Yeah.
everyone else, an A-player copywriter doesn't wait for an objection to become an objection. They actually tackle it, or they address it when it's a concern. They do not
Ooh,
allow
I
it to
like that.
become,
Yeah,
yeah,
let me
they
write that down.
don't allow it to become an objection, because here's the difference. If someone has a concern, you can actually like give them what they need to know to actually soothe that concern. But the moment it becomes an objection, then it's like it's head on, and you're trying to overcome a belief system, and you are not in copy going to overcome anyone's belief system.
That's very good. So I'll tell you a story where I think this actually could have really helped my previous client. So I had a client in 2023. It was a female audience, 100% female. And there was a pretty decent webinar that was selling a mid-ticket offer. And it was BizOp. And I always remember we had this one variation that we were split testing and we were running ads to. And the CEO told me, he's a marketing CEO, so he's kind of like a CMO CEO. He says, we need to come up with like a deadline sequence, 48-hour timeline. I mean, timer, discount. You keep the discount, but after 48 hours you leave, because our data tells us 90% of people are buying within the first 24 hours of being presented the offer in the webinar, right? Which, I mean, it's pretty regular data. My thought was, I think that the reason that they're not buying isn't the price. I think the reason they're not buying is because of the costs to build this business. I think that's the real objection, because that wasn't being addressed in the webinars. It was always like everything except how much does this thing actually cost to run. So anyway, I wasn't convinced. I thought, let's build like an objection handling sequence that, let's call it that, right? That takes care of them for 7 days to 12 to 14 days, and then a few of them are going to buy afterwards. So anyway, we ran the discount. We had like the 48-hour discount timer. Flopped. It wasn't very good. Then we switched to an objection handling sequence, which is what I originally had in mind, and it did a little bit better, but it was still not as good as I wanted it to be, because they never addressed the startup costs in the actual webinar.
Yeah,
So now
that would have been the way better place to do it, because that's
right.
when the thought would have come up.
Yeah, and also where it's a concern. So like what you were saying, it's like in the handling, in the objection sequence, they've already got this like, why shouldn't I buy it, is because of this thing. It's already become an objection at this point, right? Whereas if they had just handled it within the first like 10 to 15 minutes of even within the webinar, like 10 to 15 minutes, just like before you even reveal the mechanism, just had a tiny little piece of that, which is like, women all over North America are doing this, and they're surprised how little capital they actually need. Like just a couple $100 a month to get started, and like you just say it there. It's like now they're no longer thinking about that, right? So yeah, that's brilliant. I like that.
Yeah, that's something that I do. I mean, I'll say that I haven't heard too many people talk about that, but I'm not going to say that I'm the only one, because I'm not that arrogant. Like, I think there's plenty of people in rooms that I'm not in, probably talking about a similar thing. So it just makes sense, like why would you okay, so think about like having an argument with your spouse or something. Why would you let it become a full out like fight where you're just giving each other the cold shoulder, if you could actually do something beforehand to, negate that swelling energy towards, that point, I don't know. And the other thing is like skepticism as well. One of the things that really used to annoy me when I was critiquing a lot of copy for a group that I was a pretty popular copy coach for, part of the formula was to address skepticism. So what they would say was, skeptical I would be too. And then
Oh,
it's
no.
like, and then it's like skeptical. Why would you introduce an objection? Why would you introduce a belief system? Only then you have to freaking overcome it. Like, why? Here's the thing. Why would they be skeptical? Because, like, you've been writing copy for, like, hundreds of words, and now they shouldn't be skeptical. Like, that's what your freaking copy does. And then, when you say, so was I, it's like, if you are the
It's funny.
spokesperson of the thing, why the hell would you be skeptical about your own thing? Because, like, doesn't
That's good, yeah.
that just degrades your spokesperson? You know, like in health copy, people go, "Oh yeah, this world famous doctor accidentally found this thing or found this weird thing that you shove in your ear and it gets rid of tinnitus." And I'm going, I am not shoving a weird thing in my ear to get rid of tinnitus or tinnitus, as the Americans say. Like, you can shove that up your butt without anything to help. You know, like, I'm not putting that in it. So that's the thing, though. Like, people don't think about, like, when they're writing from a spokesperson, they write these, like, copy, I don't know, these copy hacks, tricks and shortcuts. They don't put any thought into them and think about the negative ramifications that they're going to have on the building of trust that you've just written like a couple of hundred words to achieve. And then you're going to say something like that. That's crazy. And then you have to start all over again and start to overcome the objections again. And it's like, man, just don't say that shit in the first place, you know?
I think subconsciously though, I've got a feeling, because I've noticed this with some writing, is that subconsciously they're putting this in there because they know they're feeling skepticism still. So they wrote this copy and it's like still skeptical. It's because when I read it, I say, look, your subconscious is telling you where to make this better. Like, for example, in some emails, you know, they write the email, they're explaining the mechanism or something. And then they say, so basically, and then they give a summary. It's like, if you say so basically, your subconscious told you whatever you just said is like very, very boring. And it's not actually that simple. Like, you don't need to don't put these sentences to what I'm trying to say is, or, you know, what this is really all about is, or whatever.
All this to say, it's like,
All this
well,
to say, exactly like these. It's like, yo,
why are you using all this to say? It's like, stop it. Yeah. The other thing is, the other thing that, like, I see in males writing to females is, I hate this word, but anyway, I have to say it because you guys will understand it, is mansplaining, which is to say that it's that kind of thing. It's like, so that simply means, or basically that means, and it's like, what are you implying, that the women don't understand what you just said? So now you have to dumb it down. And while we're on the subject of dumbing it down, I hate that, because, like, no one is dumb, so you never dumb your copy down. You simplify it for instant comprehension. But when I see copywriters dumbing down copy, it becomes condescending and patronizing.
Yeah, it's
It's
a good point.
wrong place to come from. So I mean, I've been on a crusade forever to try to get rid of the whole dumbing down stuff, but it's too heavily ingrained. And because think about it, like, if you're looking down at people, like, you're thinking that you have to dumb something down because people are dumb, then you're actually really not writing from the right place. And like Ogilvy said, what did he say? Something about, like, the consumer is not a moron, they're your wife. Which I think, you know, you got to think about, like, who you're actually writing to. Are you writing to some flatland two-dimensional avatar, or is your two-dimensional avatar actually represented somewhere in the physical world as someone that you actually care greatly for? Then write to that person, not the flatland avatar.
How do you balance that with attention? Like, because sometimes people are not like fully focused. So what I've often said is, you know, the person's not stupid. It's just that they're distracted, which means that
Oh
you
yeah,
have to
for
you have to
sure.
put it in a place that's like, so how do you find that balance where you're not obviously talking down at them, but you're, you know, simplifying it in a way that if they're not fully focused, they can still engage and then maybe fall back into the attention trance.
Well, see, that whole thing is on me, isn't it? Like, I'm the one. Okay, so the person's distracted. Guess what, guys? I'm a distraction. I'm no different than everything else out there. So it's my job to get the attention and keep the attention. So this goes into like enter the conversation that these people are having in their head. Like what, like that Robert Collier thing. Enter the conversation that people are having in their head. Now, by the way, Robert Collier was a metaphysician as well. He just wasn't a copywriter. He was a really like multi-dimensional guy. So he's not talking about the conversation that people are having right in this moment. He's talking about the past, present, and future conversations, like thinking about what they effed up in the past, what they've effed up in the present, and probably what they're about to F up in the future. So there's a lot going on. So when you say, how do I balance that out? I find that when I'm writing to a real person, I'm able to keep that attention a lot better than if I just think that this is just a character or something that I'm writing to that I feel lost. I mean, I had that with one of my copywriters on my copy team at the moment, right? She has to write from the persona of a person, like an email newsletter, right? So I said to her, I'm not even feeling this woman in the copy. And she goes, yeah, well, I just don't know how to bring this avatar alive. So this woman, she used to be one of my mentees, but I said to her, you used to work at Disney. She goes, yep. I said, when you went to Disney, every day you, as a cast member, put on a costume. And she said, yeah. I said, so you stopped being you and then you became this character. Why can't you do that in copy? It's called like, we call it character acting or, method acting in acting. Why can't we do method copywriting? Like become that person if you are writing for the spokesperson. But when you're writing to an audience, just think about a real person in your sphere of influence. I usually write to my mum. I write to someone that I love, usually my mum. The reason is because I love her. I'm not going to sell her snake oil because I love her, and then I respect her. So I don't dumb stuff down. I make it simple and quick for her to comprehend, because that quickness of comprehension means that they're sliding through the copy. But if they're trying to work out what I just said, if there was like an ambiguous intent or something in there, or if they feel that I was dumbing it down, they're like, did I just read that the way I did? So then they go back into the copy.
Yeah.
I don't want them to circle in the copy. I want them just to have that smooth, slow flow or fast flow all the way down to the buy button. Like I said, I just want them to make one decision at the end. Which credit card are they going to use? Yeah.
I love that so much. That's good. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, what you're saying, and it comes back to, it doesn't sound like something AI can do. It's like a process that, I'm just thinking now about these avatars, for example. One of the avatars I used to write, I mean, we can call it avatar, right? A customer profile or person. Sure. It's like I was writing for a software founder. He's blown up recently. He's actually quite big now. A lot of people know his name probably. But, back when he was not so big, when he had, let's say, 100,000 subscribers, not millions, I was writing for him, and he's got a pretty sophisticated audience back then. He was talking to, software people who make, $100,000 a month. So, as a young man, I think it was like 2023, it was quite a while ago, not too long ago though. I'm not too old, but it was quite difficult. Like it took about 5 to 6 months to really get his voice and really method act, become him. When I became him, it even started to affect my coaching. Like when I was coaching, I even had mannerisms like him, and I truly embraced the identity for a while. And I don't know. I mean, that's not easy. It's not easy to become an audience, and I think that's something that copywriters underestimate. It's like you can potentially write in 3 or 4 niches at the same time. But that's where experience starts to help you. It's not that's where I feel like experience as a copywriter is the unfair advantage, because if I want to talk as a sophisticated business owner to sophisticated business owners, I can put that hat back on. I have that voice in my mind. I know that voice. but it took me 4 to 6 months. I was literally hand copying Pauline every single day, his old copy, to download his voice, because I didn't get his voice. I didn't get the way he spoke. And eventually it just started to click, and I still can write in that voice, and that voice, and then the voice of obviously talking to, 30-year-old single moms and struggling moms, that, for that 2023 client, it took a couple months to get into it. And I think that nowadays, copywriters could just take the copy, feed it to AI, and tell AI, generate me whatever. And it kind of looks right, but it has it's missing that core. Like, you don't know that marketplace. You can't skip this phase, I don't think. Even with AI, you can't skip it.
I agree. Like, I love AI. I've built some amazing bots, and even the company that I'm the copy chief of, I've built custom bots, and I've got to tell you, they sound precisely like the email bots sound precisely like our spokespeople, and I've done a couple of those, right? So I know that we can get the sound right, but it's up to the copywriters to, my bots will get the copy up to about 80 or 90%, but it's up to the copywriters to do the 10 and the last 10 or 20%. And here's why. And I've heard a lot of people go, but why can't we just have copy out of AI that's copy and paste, that you don't need to edit? And I go, well, have at it, because here's the thing, the day that AI can write exactly like me and it spits it out and I don't have to do anything to it, I'm 100% redundant. I am not needed anymore. So I fear for copywriters that AI can write better than right now. And by the way, there's a lot of them. And mostly the BizOp copywriters that we all know about. Well, here's the thing, what you said, and I must commend you for it, because it reminds me of what I did, and I still do, is write copy out by hand. There's so many people who shit on that idea from a great height, a great moral, high ground, where they have no business doing it. I was talking to someone who's I did a partnership with some people a couple of years ago, and one of them said, "Oh, Paris is still getting you to write copy out by hand." I went, "Yeah." And what it was anything that took our attention, we'd write it out by hand to reverse engineer, analyze, and all that sort of stuff, right? And he said, "Well, you know what? I've never handwritten copy. I don't think it's hurt me." And I went, "You know what? You're never going to know." Whereas I know that if I hadn't written stuff out by hand, it probably would have hurt me. Whereas now I know that when I write stuff out by hand, here's the thing, I've written out the Wall Street Journal letter, because every time I've had a mentor, it's write it out 5 times, write it out 10 times, write it out whatever. I've written it out over 30 times. I didn't balk at it. I didn't say, oh, but my other mentors already got me to do that. I just sat there and did it every time. It's an absolutely amazing thing when you write a piece of copy out like that, because it's holy shit, was this sentence in there before? Was this paragraph in there before? You read it differently as you're writing. Whereas when people just read copy, they go, oh my God, this is baller. This is the best copy in the world. Write that copy out by hand and start to see how confusing it is for the actual reader. And that's what I was saying earlier. You can read like a copywriter and you can be enamored and you go, oh my God, that's the most incredible copy I've ever seen from a copywriter perspective. But when you are a reader and you're reading copy, you're reading a sales page, and it has so many ellipses on it that we are going to have to mine another planet and take all of their ellipses because we're going to run out very soon. That's it. There are so many ellipses on that copy. And you just go, does the average everyday reader know what to do with ellipses? They don't. They don't know what to do with ellipses. They don't know what to do with semicolons. Stop using them in copy. Anyway, I've got an opinion about ellipses. I usually get rid of all of the superfluous ellipses because, in my mind, they are impact stealers. Each sentence at the beginning has a moment of impact, and at the end has an impact zone. When you use an ellipsis at the end of a sentence, you don't finish that sentence, and you just do a run on like ellipses. I don't know, have you ever been to America? Like in America, they've got, like in California, they've got what they call a Californian rolling stop, which is you stop at a stop, you head towards a stop sign, but you roll through it and then you take off, so you don't stop. An ellipsis is exactly like that, because each period or full stop, depending on where you are in the world and what you call it, is actually like a moment of impact. And if you put the right words in that impact zone, your copy instantly hits harder. But if you do this great big string of never-ending ellipses, just say you do that for 10 lines, you've got a sentence that goes for 10 lines, and people are scanning through looking for the period. They are not reading your copy. So I get all of my copywriters to stop using so many ellipses, because it steals the impact from the sentence. Now, I'm not against ellipses, and when I've been on live calls and I've been critiquing copy, and I go, hold on to your aura, I'm about to add some ellipses, you know. I don't hate them, I just want to use them appropriately.
I've called it sentence dragging when it's misused. That's what I like to call it. Because it's like they'll have a sentence, and it's too, like you just you have a sentence that you've split into 4 sentences. You don't need to drag it like that, because the idea, I shouldn't have to start this sentence and get to the 4th sentence to get your idea. If your idea is not clear, then you can turn it into, you know, if it's a long sentence, okay, break it into 2 sentences with the ellipses, but it's still one idea. But then that's it. Like 3rd sentence, it's like maybe sometimes, but I don't think it. Otherwise, you're just dragging. You're throat clearing. You're throat clearing your idea. So that's part of editing that you could improve on. You know, AI likes them too. AI likes the ellipses too. Here's the kicker, and here's the crazy part. ...
Yeah, I've got those as banned words. I've got M dashes banned. I've got ellipses banned.
You ban them from the AI. You train it to say you're not allowed to use these words. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to do it. Yeah.
I actually with AI, I create my own bots. I don't do the custom GPTs or the projects in Claude. I use Poe to create my bots, and there's a strategic reason for that. Just say GPT is down one day, and I've got like my bots built on GPT. I can just go into the back end and change it to Claude, and what goes on. Whereas if you have everything on ChatGPT and ChatGPT goes down or Claude goes down, then you're royally screwed. So I like to be very strategic about how I use my AI.
So what's the difference between having it as a project in Claude where you give it context and give it prompts versus what you're doing with Poe? Like, how do you have it as, why is it a bot? Why is that different? What's that like?
It's pretty much the same as a custom GPT or a project. It doesn't matter. It's the same kind of thing. Probably, I think what I like about I don't know, I just like the simplicity of my bots. Although they're complex on the back end, there's a lot of thought that goes into them. But I like the fact that I can just open up one of my bots, like to say the UGC bot or the email bot, and I can just put in what I want to write about. Hey, I need an email on blah, blah, blah. Go. And then it'll come out with the first draft of, you know, the person that I'm actually writing for.
I usually give it an idea, a pretty well fleshed out idea. I don't like to use AI unless I've already given an idea, because otherwise I just end up editing it anyway.
Oh, for sure. Exactly right. Yeah, I liked, well, we discussed that very lightly before. And I mean, what I'm seeing is that, like, people who can think about copy, like copy thinking is where the money is, okay? We come up with the ideas and then we give it to AI if we want to, right? But what most people are doing, they're getting AI to create the ideas. So I've got this thing, and I told Paris one day, he really likes it. I like to collect dots in order to connect dots. And the more you collect, the more you can connect, right? But what's happening is that so many copywriters out there are just becoming lazy. And so they're not collecting dots. They're getting AI to create the dots for them and then connect them, that's where the AI copy is actually falling very short, because there's no human experience in that. With AI, or with us collecting dots, that's through life experience. That's through reading an article that's, like, I'm reading an article about premature ejaculation, and then it's like, oh my God, that could actually be used as a mechanism for something else, like in a
Mm.
totally different niche or audience. And I just go, wow, okay. So then my brain goes, how can I connect these dots together to create this magic? Whereas AI is not going to do that. It doesn't have lived experience of this world.
AI just takes text that it thinks makes sense as the next sentence and just does that, So there's no rationalization of a sales argument all the way through. I often find it's just a whole mess of I mean, that's why I always give it the idea and I tell it the rationale as well.
Mm-hmm.
I give it like here's the conclusion. I actually like to add, like, here's my conclusion. And it's like, because of this premise, this is the reason, like I add that logic into it so that when it gives me a fleshed out draft, it does have a coherent idea all the way like through. It's congruent. Um, Sometimes with emails you can get away with it because sometimes there's no idea. Sometimes it's the whole email is built up to the idea because you want to get them to click to
Yes.
find the idea. So sometimes I can get away with it with email. But if I were to write like a full script or something that, I build out the whole structure already. I'm testing some stuff with bots as well. Like I'm getting to the point now where I'm using like my own sort of tool that I've been putting together behind the scenes to just help me with my workflow.
Mm-hmm.
But I still haven't managed to get it to the point where I'm satisfied with the rationalization part of stuff. I always end up doing it myself. So when you say you've got bots and you've built all these bots out, if somebody wants to build their own bots, let's say they're quite an experienced copywriter and they want to like improve their workflow, what does that process look like? Do they come up with prompts and then give it like examples of good copy that like reflect those prompts? Is that like the core behind the scenes? What does it look like behind the scenes?
Kind of is. I mean, I've spent freaking fortune, like, probably about 15,000 learning how to build bots. Because I really wanted to know, like, okay, I as a mentor, as a the level copywriter that I am, you either keep up or you get left behind. I don't want to be one of those dinosaurs that goes, AI is never going to replace me. It's like, don't say never. So with bots, I mean, pick a platform, and I mean, Poe is the easiest one. You get on there and it says, okay, so explore or create a bot. And then, I mean, there's heaps of videos on the internet, like YouTube, and people telling you what you need to put in a bot. But basically, it is a prompt. Like, or I call it, like, they're more like specs. Like, what do I want this bot to do? By the way, it never ever, any of my prompts never ever start with, "You're a world class copywriter." Blah 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 blah. You want to know
Yeah.
why? Because world-class copywriters don't sound like world-class copywriters. That's why when people use that in their prompt, it actually sounds really salesy. Because it sounds like copy. Here's the thing. A-player copy doesn't sound like copy. In fact, our words, and Gary Halbert said that, and also Stephen King said that, in his On Writing, you need, like, your words need to be invisible. That's it. Like, people shouldn't be aware. Like I was saying before, they shouldn't be aware that they're reading. They shouldn't be aware that they're writing. Like, here's the thing, and this is my other thing that I taught Paris Lampropoulos. I mean, he taught me so much, but now he actually uses a couple of my sayings in his cub training. I've got this thing that I brought from another lifetime when I was doing a different kind of business, but it was bless, don't impress. So what I mean by that is, like, when you write copy, we are blessing people with the solution to their biggest problem in their life right now. I am not trying to impress them with my copy to show them what a great writer I am. My writing is absolutely unimportant. It's just the media or the medium that's a vehicle for the message. If they're actually noticing the vehicle, going, "Oh my God, look at the paint jobs, look at that," I've lost them. I'm not doing my job. Yeah, so bless, don't impress. Just give them what they need in their life, which is the blessing. And I'm not being arrogant when I say that, or egotistical either. It's just, it keeps everything into perspective for me. And when I told Paris that one day on a cub call, he went, everyone write that down. That is your new mantra. You are using that. And even his new cub group, although he's really good, he does the attribution, whereas other people just steal shit, don't they? And don't say where they got it from. But
Oh, that's nice. That's nice that he uses that, yeah. Bless, don't impress.
And it simplifies our whole job. It puts it into real good perspective. We need to remember why we're writing copy in the first place. It's not so that we get a paycheck. It's not, I mean, they're great. I'm not going to lie, like the money's really nice. But if we write copy and we don't get the results, and the results are basically the person sees that we have the solution to their biggest problem that they're having right now, then our copy has failed.
I think the more you focus on trying to show off in your copy, the more you're creating friction between the reader and just getting what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah, because they're aware of the that they're reading or they're watching. It's like you're making them focus on the wrong thing, and that is for ego. Like, I in some of the copy coach jobs that I've had over the years, there was one that I was doing for Stefan for a little while there, Stefan Georgi, and I was critiquing some copy one day, and I said to the guy, I said, this copy's not going to work. This is for a skincare product. It's for women, and you've spent like 3,000 words insulting women, and I've got the other policy: do not offend the person with a credit card, because why would they buy if you're going to offend them? I said, what you've done, you've written a love letter to Stefan Georgi. You've not even because you're trying to impress him with your copy.
That's good.
But
That's funny.
You've lost sight. Well, so many copywriters have done it though, Matthew. They totally forget why they're writing copy and who the end user's going to be. What that user experience is going to be of the copy that we're creating. I just don't get what they don't get. But oh, you granny skin, and just it was really horrible. Actually, I just went, wow. So ageist. But anyway, age will catch up on people, and I'm going to live until 120 just so I can see it.
Yeah. I think this is also another challenge with AI, right? It's like if you give AI, let's say, an old VSL that's converting, and it goes and digests that and gives you research based on that previous VSL, it's limited to the data set that it's just reviewed stuff on. So now it's only giving you a summary without the human part of the copy of that old VSL. And now you're going to use that to generate a new VSL control, based on...
Yep.
There's so many gaps to that. When I've been telling copywriters in my private community, what they want to think of when it comes to controls, beating controls with why AI is going to give you trouble if you try and you just rely on that to beat the control. Let's take the Amazon BizOp space. How many Amazon BizOp coaches there were in 2021? Every ad was Amazon. Not so many anymore, right? Not right now, at least. I'm not seeing as many ads for Amazon. It's more AI ads, like how to make money using AI. So the market, the thing that they're thinking about is, man, AI is so cool. I want to find a way to make money with AI. I'm sure there's a way to make money with AI. That's the conversation in the BizOp mind, is there must be a way to make money with AI. I'm sure I can do it. How do I make money with AI is kind of the search term, right? So if you go take a VSL that used to work for Amazon, and you ask AI to digest that VSL and give you an audience profile or an ICP or whatever you call it, right? Create a brief. It'll go through that and won't tell you that the number one thing that the market's thinking about today is how do I make money with AI. It's just going to give you the breakdown based on that VSL. So as a copywriter, you have to be able to see that negative space that the market's not talking about, which is, I'd love to have a product, something that I don't have to use my face, something that can pay me on the side besides my job, just a little bit of side income. But I wonder if I could make money with AI. I'm sure that that's the best way to do it right now. And then you'd get a very good control. I mean, I've seen these come out where the Amazon guys, they do use AI. So they're Amazon just invested, this will be something in their lead. Amazon just invested $4 billion into AI, excuse me, into AI development.
Mm-hmm.
And, me and my friends, we're now using AI as well to help us build Amazon stores that are profitable and paying us a little bit every single month. And here's how you can be involved. Here's how you can get a piece of that or something like that. But that hook, you have to come up with that by being a copywriter. You can't just ask AI to do that part of the process. And so, this has been my challenge recently. I'm very curious on like how you're coaching copywriters to like use AI as a tool, because a lot of copywriters I've been working with, I have to keep reminding them like it's tempting. It's like tempting to just press generate and like delegate the whole pressure and the whole stress of controls and stuff it's easier to just do this. But all the stuff that actually matters to direct AI is all the stuff you have to do all that work up front. And I'm still going to keep telling everybody, sit there, do the research and actually visualize. That's something Matt Fury talks about. I'm not sure if you've gone through any of Matt Fury's stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Matt always says you have to imagine them pulling out their credit card, taking out their wallet, pulling out their credit card, visualize it. And so I spend a lot of time visualizing stuff before I write a single word. I usually don't write any words until I've got a really good idea of what I want to say. But that process I have to keep telling copywriters now in my coaching community, like, don't skip the visualization part just because you can press generate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where I think some copywriters are getting too lazy for their own good. And this is like the difference between a biz op copywriter and someone who's serious about the craft. A lot of people are using AI as a replacement. So they just collect the money. They use AI as a junior copywriter. Even if they're a junior copywriter, they're using AI as a junior copywriter, and then they can't even actually, because they haven't got the experience to know what good copy looks like. So then they just go, yeah, this is great copy, send it off to the client, and it falls flat because they haven't done any of the stuff that you're talking about. I'm using AI, and I totally tell all of my guys too to use AI as a tool. It is no different than like a word processor.
Callum, can you give me a tissue,
It's
please?
no different than a smartphone. But, I mean, I still have, without a smartphone and without Zoom and everything else, all the tools of my business, I still have face-to-face conversations with people out in the world without any tools as well. Like, I keep telling people, do not let your skills, like, deteriorate because you're using AI. And even what I said to my copy team at the company that I work for, it's like, you need to make sure that, like, even if you're writing like emails or whatever, every now and then just challenge yourself to write one from scratch without AI at all, because that's going to give you longevity in this market. Because here's the other thing that I say to people: what happens if someone turns off AI tomorrow? Someone just has like this moral thing against it, that's it. Like Sarah Connor comes from the future or from the past or whatever and goes, turn it all off, we're about to make a big mistake. And then all of these copywriters that are leaning so hard on AI can't do their freaking job. In fact, I would really love for that to happen, because then all of a sudden there's far less copywriters, because a lot of them would be found out, and then we'd just be able to just make more money, because people will always need copy.
I saw a meme. I wish I could give attribution. It was, I think, someone popular posted it, but it was like, your face when you just close a $3,000 a month client, and it's like a very happy Jeff Bezos face, and then in brackets it's like ChatGPT will start tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like, oh no, this is not how it should be. Like if you. I'm sure this has an effect on your self-confidence. I mean, I don't use AI enough to say, because for me, like I said, give it the general idea, it fleshes it out maybe, but if I were to go and edit most of the stuff, it's faster for me to just edit it than ask AI to fix it, because I just like, why would I ask AI to make this close punchier when I know what the close should be? And if I'm telling AI, here's how to write here's the close I want, I'm basically writing the close in the prompt that exactly. It updates with. Why don't I'll just write the close myself, But when you have a copywriter that doesn't have that skill, I think it's going to be very difficult to actually, fix stuff. You sit there for hours and hours. And so, you just end up sitting there and prompting stuff. I lost what I was going to say though. Actually, did have something I was thinking about. Anyway, yeah, just that idea of, sitting there and relying on AI to produce everything for you is just not gonna. I think the more direction you give AI, the more you're actually being a copywriter, and the less you're actually. So everybody that says, oh, I've got this really good system, or I've got this really good thing that AI is doing for me, like for example, your bots, right? Are you really? Oh yeah, I do remember what I was going to say. I'm glad we're talking about this because this is related. So it's like, the fact that you have bots, in this case, you gave the bots all these instructions, and you've got prompts in place, and you've got a certain way that helps you. You've just taken something that you're doing here as a copywriter and just put it into that bot for you, but it's still actually part of the process that you're using here. Instead
100%.
of saying like, there's this magical black box that AI is generating stuff for me magically that I can't create. You've actually engineered that output yourself. And that actually proves that this is copy. Whereas a lot of people are using AI as this black box and just kind of hoping it does all the magic for them. So yeah, so what I wanted to say is copywriters are using it in a place where they're replacing themselves, not as a tool. And I don't know what this is like because I got into the industry long before AI. So I'd written thousands and thousands of pieces of copy before I even used GPT. And until recently, it wasn't even good enough that I would even bother. So only in the last 6 months, I've really started to find I can get stuff faster. I'm sure it has some sort of effect on your self-worth. Like
Yeah.
like if you're sitting there and you're writing, like you're sitting there, you're writing copy. If you're a copywriter and you've never been able to write copy without AI because you joined the industry recently, it's like, it's all great that you're making all this money, but there's this feeling inside that AI has replaced you and it's just doing all the work for you. You're going to be found out one day. That's like, it's just a matter of time before they realize. I'm sure many people are feeling that. That's my, I don't know, I feel like that's possible.
I think so as well. I mean, you've got to think about why you're even doing this. I mean, like I said before, if a junior copywriter is using AI as a junior copywriter, but they haven't got the experience to actually know what good copy is, or they're not working on their skills, they're just leaning in heavily on AI, then they're not going to advance. Something that made me laugh a while ago was some people were trying to get rid of copy chiefs in the industry because they're saying, oh, well, we could just get an AI or a bot to copy chief. And then when I did that 195 pages in a day, people were saying, oh, yeah, because you used AI. And I went, no, I didn't. Because here's my philosophy. Why would I? Well, I don't even know how you do it anyway. You get something on a Google Doc, you put the Google Doc, you have to transform a Google Doc usually into a Word doc to put it into AI. Then AI does its magic. Then I just take that out of AI, put it back into the Google Doc, paste it back into the Google Doc. And it's like, what the hell? Just do it yourself. But here's where I think a copy chief AI would come in handy, is between the copywriter and the copy chief to make sure that you've done all the stuff in a checklist that you should have done before it gets to the copy chief. Like your copy chief shouldn't be your freaking copy editor, which is I haven't got time to be someone's copy editing bitch. Like, that's not what a copy chief is actually. I'm there checking your big ideas, checking your copy flow, making sure there's no emotional black holes, checking that, the golden thread is all the way through, that the offer actually makes sense and that it doesn't sound like, something that the FTC is going to take you to town on, because it makes it sound like the person doesn't have to pay for the product except for the next thing you're asking for a credit card. So it's like, all of these things. And then I'm also checking compliance. I'm doing so much as a copy chief that good luck getting a bot to do any of that. You're not going to.
Well, I mean, some of the bots, I kind of want them to be a bit more aggressive with me, because you're like, what do you think of this copy? Excellent choice. I really like the usage of these words. He did such a great job with this. He did so. so much validation. So much validation. It's like if you get AI to give you a review on your copy, it's going to be a lot more friendly than my copy chief was to me. My copy chief, Pauline,
Mm-hmm.
when I wrote an email for him, okay, I wrote this one email, and this was in the early days. He didn't give me the direction on how to improve. He was busy or something. I don't know. This was his style. I love it. It taught me how to think. So I gave him this email. I was quite proud of myself, And he's like, all right, I left feedback. So I go to the doc. The whole doc is highlighted. And the comment for the whole email was just no in capitals, like N-O capitals. That's it. That was my feedback.
Oh,
He just
wow.
highlighted the whole thing. He's like, no. And so back then, I'm like, the thing I like about it was I had to try and diagnose what the issue was. Like, what doesn't he like about it, And doing that, you start to improve your process. So he was always giving me very, very direct feedback like that. Like, no, I mean, AI is not going to tell me that, and that taught me that it's the idea. Like the fact that he highlighted the whole thing, I eventually realized, like, okay, it's clearly not the words. It's clearly my whole approach is off. So let me
Yeah.
better understand. And then eventually he got to the point where he said yes. And so I feel like that was my like hero's journey. It's like, at the beginning he highlight the whole thing and says no. And then later he's like, yes, this is pretty good. So I was like, okay, I got it, But I would train AI maybe on something like you could give AI maybe 10 questions or like, I have 7 things. Is it 7 or 8? I have like 8 main things I look at when I copy chief. And the last one, the 8th thing is like the word polishing or copy editing part. The other 7 is like captivation, hook, angle, idea, flow, that kind of stuff. So you could train AI, let's say a
Mm-hmm.
bot. You say, here's the 8 things. And I want you to go through these things in every piece of copy that someone submits to you, and then just ask them challenging questions about each of those sections to get them to think about it. That could be good. But why can't you just use a checklist?
Well, I was about to say that. Like when I was at Paris Cub, over the 6.5 years, we built out a checklist that went on for about like 5 or 6 pages of all the things that we had to consider before I even thought about sending it to Paris. Everything. He said, if you even write a shopping list, you're to run it through this checklist. It's like, holy shit. Like, but it does. It gives you that accountability with your copy that you're not
Mm.
going to hand in something. Because, like, if Paris goes, what about X, blah, 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 and he goes, you clearly didn't check that. And it's like, well, I'm not going to lie. Because my first ever critique with him was hilarious. I was the first cub in our group to be critiqued, and he's known for being pretty tough. Anyway, so yeah, he went to town on my copy. Absolutely went to town on it, and like, did you check this? Then he said to me, "Did you even read this copy aloud?" And I went, I'm not even going to lie, because you know the answer. No, I did not. I was too much in a hurry. I was so nervous about handing it in. I forgot to read it out loud. I realised that after I handed it in. And he goes, okay, thank you for your honesty. And he goes, well, what have you learned? I went, I'm going to read it out loud from forever and a day now. So I always do, even when I'm critiquing on a live call, I'll be reading copy out loud as I'm changing it and just telling people
Oh,
about it.
wow.
But then after that, he goes, so do you need a band-aid or anything? Like, you've been pretty well brutalized. And I went, Paris, I don't want a band-aid. I think I need a cigarette. And he goes, what? I went, yeah, it was strangely satisfying. I feel so good after that critique. He goes, oh, you Aussies are really weird. Like, and then he goes, okay, next. And no one volunteered. So yeah, it was quite funny. But I just wanted to get the critique over and done with so that I could just, learn from it and just get better and get better. And, I as a copywriter, I've always made sure that if I make a mistake, I never make it again.
No, that's very thorough. I struggle to do that. I think for me, I need to see it 3 or 4 times before I internalize it. Like I often, yeah. But that's so like the previous things you were doing before you became a copywriter. Do you think that helped you a lot in what you've done now? Because you mentioned you were in the military before. So do you think that discipline transferred over?
For sure. So, yeah, well, you can tell just by looking at me, I'm a bit older than the average like copywriter out there. But I'm kind of sort of in the middle. Like I'm in my mid-50s, so I'm doing all right. But I got into copywriting a bit late because I was a registered nurse for 20 years, and then at the same time, they overlap a bit. I joined the Australian Army as a nursing officer, got up to the rank of major. So I had two pretty significant careers that, nursing taught me compassion and empathy, which I can put in copy and speak directly to the person's heart and soul. Then the being a military major is like helps me with the leadership of being like a copy chief and all that kind of stuff, but also the personal discipline, to be able to see beyond what most people see. Like an officer in the army, you've got the soldiers that are out to get you every moment of the day. Like I would have soldiers in the hospital say, because they had to call me ma'am, it's like just a military thing. They go, ma'am, would you like a cup of coffee? We're making one for ourselves. And I just look at them, I just see something in their eye. I go, no, I'll make my own. Because we're in a hospital, they had access to laxatives and stuff like that. So no, I'm not going to let them make my coffee for them. So I think just having all of these different real world experiences, and I think the most well-rounded copywriters, and this doesn't come down to age at all. This comes down to the individual. Like you, I've seen what you've done. You've gone out, you've lived life, and you are continuing to live life just as I am. Like travel the world, go to a country where you don't speak the language. Get into the culture, get off the beaten track away from just tourist spots. In the last year I've been to like Chiang Mai. I love Chiang Mai. I'm going back there for an
Beautiful
event
place.
in October. I've been to Italy, but not just Rome, not just Florence, but I went to a place called Lucca, which is a quaint little town in Tuscany. Beautiful, like these places. Go to America. Don't just go to the normal place. I've been to Panama, but also down to like Bocas del Toro, which is an amazing little island. And get out and live and experience the world, because then you get out of like a little box of your own understanding. Like you start to just like your copy senses like come alive, because that's what I'm talking about. Like you collect dots from life experience. So then you're writing about it and you go, oh, there was that time I was in Japan, although I haven't been to Japan, but there was that time I was in Chiang Mai when I saw blah, blah, blah. And so then we weave that into our copy. It's freaking incredible, but you can't do that if you haven't got that life experience to draw on.
So true. There's so many copywriters now that are, let's say, 18, 19, 20, and I coach them, and they're writing in BizOp. And they're writing the section, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're doing this and this. I'm like, bro, do you know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck? Like, you still live with your parents, right? Do you know what it's like to be worried about rent? Because you're using this very cliche sentence, paycheck to paycheck, and you're kind of just moving past it. Maybe that's not what they want to hear. Maybe there's something else that's a bit more, like what does that actually look like? And I think so. And it's the same thing with the relationship niche. A lot of young copywriters, they're writing relationship stuff. It's like, have you ever been in love? Have you lost somebody that you love? I mean, that stuff's very difficult to, it's a lot easier to project from your own experiences and then start writing. It's a lot, like I often will pull from a life experience of my own. Like when I struggled financially, it's a lot easier to pull from that, and I'm writing to that version of myself to some extent when I'm writing in that niche. Or relationship copy, same thing. But and this is why I actually, I did a little bit better in the B2B coaching side of things as a writing for B2B coaches, is because I run a coaching offer. It's like a lot easier to write now because I'm writing to myself, So if you're a young guy and you're writing copy, because I know a lot of you watching this are young guys, I've got the little thing on YouTube tells me you guys are young guys watching these videos, like, go and live a little bit. Like go spend a little bit of money. Go somewhere that you don't have your parents. Like live by yourself for a week even. Just go on a vacation somewhere to work, a work vacation. Go live somewhere. Go meet some people. Don't live in your room, because those experiences are going to also start to affect the way you write copy. You're going to start being able to pull from your own life. You don't have enough life experience to pull from that can add that emotional impact to the copy. And a lot of people come from, let's say, 9 to 5s, or they enter this industry in their early 30s or something, they have a really good advantage because of the fact that they just have so much life experience. Like, Pauline, I'm coaching somebody that's got 4 kids,
Mm.
and she has 4 kids. She crushes it when she talks to women about building their business. She just nails it. Like whenever I read that copy, it's like the way she describes looking after kids and managing a business and juggling the priorities. You can get AI to do it. You can have somebody sit there and write 10 versions. She just gets it, like it's just so much easier, So
Yeah, exactly.
so how do you keep learning when you're already getting better at copy, You've done this for so long. You've worked with Paris. How do you continue to improve? How do you yeah, that's it. How do you keep getting better?
Just keep learning from people. Like, you said before we started the call, you saw me sign up to your email list. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I sign up to your email list? Like, I'm not above learning from anyone. Like, I know. Like, years ago, I did a course with Ed Ray about, like, Facebook ad compliance. And people said, why are you doing that? Like, he's so young, he doesn't know anything. I went, yeah, he actually does. He knows a lot more than a lot of the, media buyers that are out there selling shit courses. I mean, I don't see the age. I see the expertise and the specialty in the person. So what I would say is never be too big for the room. Don't be too big for yourself. Don't think, don't look at anyone and just go, I can't learn anything from them. Like we were talking before we started the call about being the best copywriter of anything, right? And I think that if you say that you're the best at anything, there's an ego attached to that you don't think that you can actually learn anything else from anyone else. So that I never want to be the best copywriter of anything or anywhere, because that implies not just out to the world. This is all about mindset. It's all about, like, what I'm saying to my internal self, that I don't think that I can actually learn anymore. I mean, I pay an absolute freaking fortune every month. I've got a mindset mentor. Like, she's absolutely ridiculous. Actually, she's the same one that Alan Sultanich has got. So,
Nice.
but mindset, if you don't, I would say that one of the best ways to get better at what you're doing is you can get to a certain level of skills, and then it's like, okay, so I don't know who can teach me more skills, but I do know that if my mind isn't sharp, if it isn't like, if my mind is not on my side, all the skills, all the high level skills in the world are going to be worthless. Absolutely freaking worthless. And we see that all the time. Very talented copywriters undercharged because they do not value themselves or their skills. Whereas then we've got the Dunning-Kruger guys that are out there freaking no skills, and they're charging top dollar. And so, so yeah, if you feel that there's a deficiency in your mindset, definitely go for your mindset. Yeah. And don't play the games of other copywriters. Don't compare yourself, which is very, very easy to do. Just work out a plan. Like, if you're being coached by Matthew, then, like, reach out and, like, if he tells you to do something, freaking do it. Like, if he tells you to write shit out by hand, write it out by hand. Don't go, so many people say that this doesn't work. Just freaking do it. Like, you don't pay for a mentor to argue with that mentor that they're wrong. You just don't. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Fortunately, they won't have that opportunity, because if you apply, and I've done this before, I sent somebody back their money after the first call because they were just sort of, they said I know after almost every sentence. And
yep, there you go.
Whether it was subconscious or whether it was intentional, it doesn't matter. I just said at the end of the call, I literally said to them, well, I'm really glad that you know all this stuff already. So I think that it won't really make sense to me to coach you on it. So I'll be we'll be parting ways. He was so surprised. He couldn't believe it was, that's one of my only refunds I've done. And so it's funny that it was like me sending the refund to him, instead of him refunding. But he couldn't believe I refunded him so much money too. I just don't have the time or interest in doing that. I think a lot of copywriters, you guys, this is an industry where a lot of people will big you up and will tell you that you're the rainmaker, you're there's a lot of, it's very easy to build a very, like a big ego that you're this and you're this and you do this and that and you make all this money. But at the end of the day, this is a skill. It's very difficult actually to learn this skill. It takes years and years. And like you've said, Pauline, it took an entire year just to improve at bullets. And I doubt you'd even say that you've mastered them. You'd say you probably still have a lot to learn. So if that's what it takes, this is not a quick make money, thing. It's just going to serve you badly if you take that impression of like, I know stuff and I can. So yeah, student frame I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn, and this is a very fulfilling industry. It's very fun because you learn a lot about human psychology, and you also learn a lot about yourself. I find when I write copy, there's a mirror a lot of the time. I'm learning a lot about myself through my ideas. Whenever I express something, it refines things. And just to go back to what you said about mindset too, I recently hired a coach to help me with some stuff in my head that I'm working through, and it's made a big difference. And I've actually found, and this is in all my YouTube content as well. So people watching this, if you've watched some of my other content, like, it's always the personal part of your life that's the real bottlenecks. Like 95% of the time when I'm coaching, that's where the bottleneck comes from. I'm coaching a guy, he's got so much potential, the self-confidence is not there because he's dealing with this other problem in his personal life, and it's just bringing him down. Or you're struggling because you have a little bit of extra credit card debt. It keeps affecting your price on calls. It's the tactics and the strategies are very, very simple. There's so many books, there's so many people that have written stuff. I mean, copywriters, they're writers, so there's enough books, like there's enough books on copy. The strategies and the tactics are all available. Sure, somebody can give you the right direction, but majority of the time, you're just getting in your own way because there's stuff from your personal life. And that's why I just delegate a lot of I just don't do it by myself. Like, I'm the same as you. I'm always investing in somebody because I don't want to be trying to figure it out alone, So,
I mean, I've also joined a lot of masterminds over the years, just finding where I fit. And I mean, sometimes they're a stretch. I have done things like I mentioned before about that event back in 2014. I wanted to go to that, but I had no freaking money to go to that. But I knew that I wanted to go. If I was going to go, I was going to go as a VIP. And I mean, the Australian dollar was bottomed out at that time, and so I didn't have the money in my business, in my personal life. My parents didn't have the money to give me. No one around me had the money. But I remember that a year earlier, a guy who was in the military said, and I don't know why he said it, but he said it. He said, Pauline, you are someone who's totally backable. If ever you need like a loan, I live in the accommodation on the base. I have a lot of money. I don't know what to do with it. If ever you need a loan, let me know. I went, shit, maybe I have to give this guy a call. My partner Ray's like, oh, I don't know. I went, I really would have to go to that event. So I borrowed money off this relative stranger at the time. He's now a friend, obviously. But I borrowed like about, I think it was $10,000. The payment terms were ridiculous. Like, it was like a, one of those loan shark kind of things. But here's the thing. I bought the ticket. Then I had the time between when I bought the ticket in May to October, well, let's say September, to work my ass off to then pay for the flights and the accommodation. Here's the thing I didn't earn enough money for. I didn't earn enough money to eat when I was in America, so that was like, that was really interesting. So my partner and I shared a meal, and everyone goes, oh, that's so cute. I went, no, it's not. We're so fucking hungry because we can only afford one meal. But anyway, here's the thing. You do what you got to do, but every freaking door that opened up after that was attributed to that one event. So the best investment you can make is in yourself. I didn't make that investment in that event or whatever. I made that investment in me. And then I also worked my ass off. So by about November, I had paid that loan back, done the accommodation and everything else like that. And I'm way better for it, And like yourself, like everyone else, there has been absolute lean times. But the thing is, if you want something so badly, you just keep at it, and just don't give up. If something is that important to you, just keep going and never ever give up. Don't give yourself excuses. I've got like this policy. Um, if I make an excuse, I'm not allowed to use it again. I used to have an excuse book. I used to write them down. I'm very, very creative, so it was a very thick book. Yeah, but stop making excuses and start having that ownability and responsibility and accountability for your life. No one else is making your life hard, you are. So find out how to stop doing that. What do you need, or who do you need to help you to do that? So keep tapping into those resources. Here's the thing, like when I started, there wasn't any of this stuff. When you started, there was a little bit of it. These days, there's so much information. Then you've got free stuff on the internet. I gob off everywhere wherever I can, like especially these kind of podcasts and that. It's like, my best stuff I'm giving out in these interviews because I want people to succeed at this. So much stuff for people to find.
There's so much available. Yeah, it's true. When I started, there was a lot of stuff for sure, but I mean, I actually started with AWEI, so I did a course with them, and I mean, I must have spent close to $10,000 US when I first started, and I had a 9 to 5. No, actually, I didn't have like a 9 to 5. It was like a 3 to 11. It was 8 hours. I had a 3 to 11 coffee shop income, $11 Canadian, so $9 an hour. So, to pay off $10,000 at $9 an hour, you've got 1,000 hours worth of work. So, I wasn't willing to do 1,000. I mean, that's half a year full time. I wasn't willing to do that, so I made the money back from copywriting, and I broke into the industry. But I was also willing to put that money behind my name. And so, if you're watching this, is that necessarily the price? I mean, only based on your situation. Like maybe it's a time thing for you. Maybe if you don't live in a country where you can get access to cash from somebody else so easily, then you've got to double down with the amount of time you invest up front. Or maybe it's not either time or money, because maybe it's a 9 to 5. Maybe it's you have to pay the price through priorities, but there's always a price to pay somewhere. And the last thing I wanted to share with everyone is, the same thing with AI. If you use AI to replace you and you use AI to take shortcuts, you're going to pay the price, because if I wrote thousands of emails before I used AI. It doesn't affect my skill to use AI. But if you're starting in the last 2 years and AI is a large part of the process, there's a price to be paid with that. Is that, you might take 10 years to develop a skill set that takes copywriters who were working in an agency before AI took them 2 years.
Yeah.
So it might take you a lot longer to actually develop the core skill if you do that. And if you're okay with that, sure. But if you really want to get to that next level, you might actually be, giving yourself a hard time actually by using AI so much. Even though in the short term it takes you less work, it's actually longer in the long term. But anyway, pay those prices, and yeah. Thanks so much, Pauline. This has actually been really, really great. I learned a lot from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, likewise, I learned so much from you, and I think whoever watches this recording is gets a blessing that they deserve and the success that they desire. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, where can they find you if they want more secrets?
So I have a website, thecopyalchemist.com, and I'm on social media and around the place, and I've got an email that goes out once a week. I've been consistency. I've been doing that for over 500 weeks, and I've never missed a week ever.
Wow.
For any reason. Yep. So
that's good. Wow, 500 weeks. That's like close to 10 years of emails.
It actually is. And funny thing is, when I started, I didn't think I had much to say. Now people can't shut me up. But actually, over my shoulder here, these are books that are actually they're done in years. So each year of my knowledge nuggets is actually a book as well, because I realize that not everyone was there from the beginning. So if they want them from the beginning, then they just buy the book off Amazon and off they go.
Well, that's cool. Okay, well, there you go. So if you want to follow Pauline, sign up to the email list, go to the website, go get the books. And yeah, thanks so much again for doing this. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.